Oh god. So we have to start this video again. This second time making this video because of the whole cable incident. Fucked up. Basically, where we're going to in this video is me and a friend were talking online, pray. We broke down the aspect. We want to know what's happening with certain abilities in the show. Everything in this video is theory, but it's really digging deep into the theories. Okay? What we're talking about is not the possibilities I'm about to bring up. We look at different aspects of how the maiden powers work, and that most likely, if it ever does get explored in the show, if Rwby ever decide to give us information in the show concerning the process of the maiden powers and what exactly is going on, we are pretty sure that one of these has to happen or has to be acknowledged, because if what we're about to discuss, what I'm about to tell you, doesn't happen, it's just gonna feel like a hole in the maiden lore is just gonna be left blank. One thing we also acknowledged while bringing up these points was that no one in the fandom has actually dived this deep into the maiden powers before and how they function, as we'll be going into aura, the soul, genetics, as well as similar to the ozma memory build-up. Is there an afterlife? Multiple things come into play when we actually went into this. So much so that the maiden powers might be more of a curse if they decide to go down one of the routes I'm talking about, route, whatever you want to say it. If they go down one of these paths, they come across as more of a curse than a blessing, the maiden powers. But time for us to go into this, and I'm going to start this off by saying I'm not happy with Penny becoming a maiden, mostly for the fact that it is lore that the people who become maidens, it's already established that it's a shit process, but it's basically the maiden powers should go to a young woman, which I have no problem with. The problem is Penny is not in any form or aspect a woman. If we're gonna get off this whole gender identity politic bullshit, if we just focus on what Penny is a robot at its core. She will never be a human. It doesn't matter if she is based off Pinocchio. It doesn't matter. At the core, Penny is a female model Terminator. And going further down than that, she is just a robot. Basically. She's modeled after the female structure of a human, but she's a robot. It has no gender. Penny has no gender. What makes this even more complicated is that her power source, whether it's a soul or an aura, which is a big part of this video, its origin is from a male, being Pietro. So whether you look at her or Penny's, I know I'm getting confused because I'm used to saying her based on pronouns, but Penny's aura or soul is male in origin. Now, whether that plays a part is a 50-50 aspect, but Penny's soul aura is male, and her body is a female humanoid. Just because it's female humanoid does not make her a female. Her aura, Penny's aura, I swear this is going to be annoying. Penny's aura soul is male. In no way. This is like saying if Penny chooses to identify as a female, then the maiden powers, which are these legendary magical abilities that are getting passed down from woman to woman, it's so simple to trick these magical maiden powers by just self-identifying as a female. At that point, with Penny, it almost makes it seem like you could be a male in the show. You're a male character in the show. Could be Jean, could be Whitley, could be Adam fucking Torres, for all you know. As long as that male character self-identifies as a female, they are eligible to get the maiden powers. That's how stupid making Penny a maiden is. That's what the door opens to it, and it's focused, I think, on gender politics, which is really stupid because at its core, you're focusing in on a goddamn robot. But if we're diving deeper into this, if we get off that topic, if we ignore the whole gender issue with Penny becoming a friggin' maiden, which I don't really care about, I have a few theories on what's going to happen to Penny in Volume 8. Everything from they're going to evacuate the Atlas floating city and they're going to leave Penny on it, and they are going to launch it up into the atmosphere, and Penny will be the only one on the floating city, thereby neutralizing one of the maidens and one of the relics from Salem's control. If you want to know where that's from Laputa Castle in the Sky, a Studio Ghibli movie. When the city floats off into the upper atmosphere at the end of the movie, there's only one robot left on the island to care for it. That's an actual reference to one of the best Studio Ghibli films perhaps ever made. Everything from, her Pinocchio origins, she's going to go inside the whale to save Pietro, to I'm hoping she just fucking dies. I don't fucking care. But going forward, because I don't want to make this way too long, concerning the maiden powers, the big thing that we're coming down to is the maiden powers. If we go back to Volume 3 with Amber, the machine was designed not to transfer this is what it comes down to. Is it the soul or is it aura? Are they two separate entities? Are they one and the same? That is a big, big problem that I think needs to be established. Even if it's just Rwby or Miles and Kerry at a Q&A, they need to establish when, with the aura transfer machines, to me, it's transferring aura, not the soul. If it's doing this, the aura gets extracted from the soul, gets sent, and the maiden powers along for the ride transfer with the aura into the new body. If this is the case, right, then the current maiden soul, aka Amber, is free to die and pass into the afterlife, whether there's a heaven, a hell, or whatever. It just finds peace, reincarnation, whatever. The soul moves on. That is one of the options, that the maiden powers are linked to the aura. And what we came down to the ideology with the aura being transferred, if aura is the key to the transferring of maiden powers, then maybe you should think about this. There have been God knows how many maidens, hundreds, maybe thousands of maidens. The reason the maidens are so friggin' strong and pretty much undefeatable is it's a collective aura consciousness. This was something we brought up. The reason it's so hard to break a maiden's aura is that it's not just that individual's aura. Take, for example, Raven or Amber, right? I know it doesn't make sense with Amber, and you could just make the argument that she was a new maiden, but take to this instance that before Raven had the maiden powers, she still had her own aura, her own semblance. But when the maiden powers get introduced to her, in theory, she should have the aura of every single maiden before her in herself. Her aura shield capabilities should be insane. Now, I know, in theory, this is also overpowered as hell. This is effectively having a shield of insane proportions. But to blow your mind even further, if the maiden powers are not only tied to the aura, in theory, in this show's lore, the semblances of set people are also tied to a person's aura. In that case, every single maiden semblance could also be tied to a maiden in theory, meaning that current day maidens not only have their own aura, but every single aura of the maidens that came before them, but the option to try and learn the semblances of the ones that came before them because you got access to their aura. It's like a collective mindset. This ended up going further deeper when we reflected on the side of are the maidens a curse. We thought if it's not just their aura getting transferred, if their soul's getting transferred as well, these and the reason we got to this was when we highlighted what Winter specifically said to Penny in Volume 7. Because Penny was under the assumption that, she may have the maiden powers, but she was under the impression that the maiden herself, Freya, had died. So she's gained powers and abilities, but the individual has died. Winter's response is pretty much, no, she's a part of you now. Now, this can be interpreted two different ways. It could be just simply that she's inherited the maiden abilities. But the way it's voiced, the way that you can interpret it, is that the maiden herself, Freya, is now a part of Penny. And when we really captured that essence, and you can probably guess where I'm going with this, the maidens are not dying. They're not passing on to the afterlife. They're not finding peace. You become a maiden. When it's your turn to die, you're trapped inside the next maiden. That's what was going through our head. This is an unholy curse. It's like the byproduct. You wanted power, you wanted all this great stuff, you wanted the responsibility. You're never going to find peace because you're going to become a slave to this power for all of eternity. The concept that every single maiden's soul is a part of the current maidens. You never find true peace. But the idea that Freya had to come to terms that she's never going to have peace, that she's going to be a part of someone else. This is a very deep and dark issue. Because we also thought, what if there's a way for the maidens to somehow meditate or get in contact? This could be similar to Star Wars with Force ghosts, where they can get in contact in their head with the maidens before them. It's like an extensive library of knowledge of the maidens. Similar in part to how Ozma, Ozpin, and his entire encyclopedia is inside Oscar. All of a sudden, the maidens are now more interesting than just door openers for the friggin' vault. All of a sudden, their powers, what could be a curse, how much aura they have, what access to semblances, who they are, what happens to them, should they die, the power transfer, all of this all of a sudden becomes interesting. These characters become interesting. All of a sudden, you're looking at Cinder and you're like, is Amber in there with her? Is someone else in there with her? You're looking at all the different maidens now. Like Raven, does she have all these other voices in her head? I know, in concept, like this theory is mind-blowing. It's a very good idea for the friggin' show. The problem is we're in Volume 7 going into Volume 8. This concept that I'm talking about is... You can't introduce it to the show as it is. It's like, imagine in Volume 8 or Volume 9, this concept actually becomes canon in the show. One of them becomes concept. Whether it's the aura transfer, whether it's the soul and aura transfer, whether there are multiple minds. If they ever go with any of this, I'm sorry, it will come across in the show as shit. Because there was no hinting or build up to it over the past 7 years. The maiden powers are just elemental garbage magic from an old time. That's why I'm saying if they need to really reboot the show to introduce an idea like this to make the maidens more than what they are. But if you take anything away from this, whether it's that, what if the maidens just started off weak? This is in concept. Like, what if the maidens are in their new canon origin story are Salem and Ozma's children, and they're reincarnated. They started off weak. They had an unlimited supply of magic because they're born of Ozma and Salem, so they're from the old humanity, and they're reincarnating like Ozma. It's a trait that they could have inherited from the gods through Ozma to the children that they reincarnate. They started off, oh, this is how we do aura. We got shields, but the original children, their shields could have been small. Could have been just standard human shields. But over their reincarnation, every single reincarnation, they're adding on more shields. They're getting stronger. They're getting stronger. You can say it's overpowered, but as I said before, but what if using the unlimited magic reserves are now tied to their aura? They require immense amounts of aura to fuel their unlimited magic, because the problem in with the maidens right now is saying they can use unlimited magic. They don't need their aura to use magic. It's very hard to write a combat scene with that demographic. Right now, you can only use your semblance if you have aura. So in combat, should your aura get knocked out, you can't use your semblance, but in theory, you should be still able to fight with your weapon and anything. Such as in the current volume, Winter's lost her aura. She can't use her semblance, but she still attacks Cinder with her blades. Well done there. Bad side of Volume 7, and I'm just summing this up quickly, is the Aesop's fight. The moment their aura breaks, they just get knocked out. Like, they just fall over in exhaustion. You're like, wait, why? You can still fight. You don't have your aura anymore, but that's not stopping you from fighting. That is one sense, the Aesop's fight is shit. In one sense, Winter did some actual good in her friggin' sense. Two different outlooks. But with the maidens, yeah, don't stop fighting just because your aura breaks. If you have unlimited magic. But if it's insinuated that, they can use all this elemental magic, but they need their aura, hence the reason multiple reincarnations is a huge aura build-up, all of a sudden aura becomes interesting to the maidens. But you would have to reboot the series to do that, because we know at current time, especially with the Raven and Thingy fight, that maidens can just continuously use magic. So it's very hard to write a fight scene for maidens at this point. I don't think there's been a good maiden fight technically in the entire series, if I'm being dead honest, whether it's Raven and Cinder. Like, choreography and all that may be in point, but when you break down the powers, should a person stop using powers when their aura breaks? Like, when Cinder stops using her powers and she's falling backwards, bitch, yeah, that has to do with your semblance. It's got nothing to do with your maiden powers. You could have just started shoot fire out. You would not have had your aura force field, but nothing's stopping you from flying around the fucking map. You still got your unlimited magic. When you go back and realize this shit, it's actually quite stupid. Even when she gets frozen solid, it's like, bitch, increase your body temperature. Melt the friggin' ice. Get out. You're not dead. It's shit like this that breaks the maidens. They seem really dumb in theory. But I'm ending this video at 20 minutes. This was just the video that... I actually hope this video goes viral. I hope a lot of people in the Rwby community see this. I hope the bigger Rwby YouTubers actually see this, because I would like to see videos done by bigger Rwby tubers based on the theory of the maidens, what is actually happening, as I've talked about, with the aura transfer, with the soul transfer, is it possible semblances get transferred? Is it building up the aura? Is there memories in there? Are they being trapped inside? Are they, if the soul is trapped within the next maiden, or is the soul separate? Does it pass on? These are a lot of things that could play a big interest in the show going forward for other people. And that's all I want to say. This was the Maiden breakdown video, and I'd like to know your thoughts. Please, just based on the ideas, tell me which one in the comment section you think is possible. Which one maybe you want to see the souls trapped inside the maidens to give them more information. Maybe they're conflicted. Maybe it changes them as individuals. Perhaps it's like before Cinder became the maiden, she's one person, but now she has access to all this knowledge, all these thoughts and shit. Um, would that type of thing conflict with the individuality and change them into a different person, or perhaps create a hive mindset? Lots of different things that can be done. The next video I do want to work on that I brought up before that's freaking driving me nuts, and I still haven't seen another Rwby YouTuber actually bring it up and actually focus in on it, is Cinder, Ironwood. Both of them shared the dialogue. The timeline has changed. Cinder, right now you got like Salem. Cinder's attached to that, but also a bit rogue. Ironwood's on the complete opposite side with Ozma, and he's gone rogue. You got these two individuals on complete opposite sides saying the timeline has changed, insinuating that this isn't the first time that this stuff has happened. It's maybe in a time loop. The gods are resetting the time loop every time they judge humanity, searching for this perfect outcome. And two, how are Ironwood and Cinder aware of this? Is this insinuating that Salem and Ozma are aware of the time loop? That's the next video.